Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Community Development and Human Services Committee. My name is Matt Westmoreland. I am the vice chair of this committee. Councilman Dozier is out of town today. I am joined by council members Keisha Waits, Jason Winston, Liliana Bakhtiari, and Council President Doug Shipman. We constitute a quorum. I will make a motion to adopt the agenda, seconded by Councilmember Bakhtiari. If we can open that vote.
One moment. The vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays.
4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda is adopted. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Second by Councilmember Bakhtiari. If you open that vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
4 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes are approved. Next up is public comment. We have two speakers. I believe Ms. Jordan, you are going to lead us off, followed by Dwan Robinson. You will each have 3 minutes.
Giving out to the Spirit of God to everyone that's here. For the Lord of hosts that planted thee has pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah, which they have done against themselves, provoked me to anger in offering incense unto Baal. Jeremiah 11, chapter 17, verse. Where there is godless living, lack of concern for others in their need, and carelessness with regard to the clear instruction of the word of God, God cannot honor the one who prays. Rather, such a one stands in danger of divine judgment. You gave yourself credit, pay, and glory for what Jesus has done through me, James 5th. And you shall reap oppression for yourself and others. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. Matthew 16, chapter 25th verse. Deny himself that is refused his own claims upon himself. James 5th seeks to save himself, causing death for himself and others. Jesus says he is angered with your unrighteous deeds, Atlanta City Council. And I will make void the counsel of Judah and Jerusalem in this place. And I will cause them to fall by the hands of them that seek their lives. And their carcasses will I give to be meat for the fowls of the heaven and for the beasts of the earth. Jeremiah 19, chapter 7, verse. And I will break the pride of your power, indicates that quite often prosperity leads to pride and self-confidence. Ask Jesus to practice righteous deeds to avoid God's wrath. We need Jesus' protection. This people draw nigh unto me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Matthew 15, chapter 8, verse. The prophet condemns his own people for honoring God with their mouths and lips, but not with their heart. I heard the police chaplain pray for the practice of justice, and Atlanta City government don't practice justice according to the word of God. Sometimes we have other forces of what men push us to be, but I try to push to be what Christ says to be, because he got death and hell in his hands. But some of us don't realize it because of what the world is doing around us. Prestige, honor, and glory that comes from man. I have to fight against that myself because of the gift that Christ has given me. It's for the saving of my own soul and other souls. Christ value your soul, and I must value your soul also.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Mr. Robinson, Dr. Robinson.
Good afternoon, board. I come before you today to ask you. I would like to get on your agenda to present a plan with my nonprofit we've been working on for years. I was looking at this resolution, Councilmember Lewis and Councilmember Waits, you asked Mr. Norman to show you organization that they've been working with the land bank. We have a presentation we would like to present to this board when it comes to affordable housing. We've been dealing with zoning and some people that invest in Atlanta that kind of look and see if the prefab homes are sustainable to deal with certain weather climates in Atlanta, though we don't get hurricanes here. And I feel that the specs meet all the terms that we were asked for when it comes to affordable housing. These things will cost us about $20,000 to get in. That's being shipped from Savannah, transported to Atlanta, and we can probably sell them for about $80,000. So an average family, what's that, about $400 or $500 a month if they had to pay a mortgage or whatever, or if we had to rent them out. But 30 minutes is not enough time. So we were asked for you guys to consider putting us on the agenda where we can show you guys a presentation of everything, because we understand that's the number one need, not only in Atlanta, but nationwide in other countries. That's still a number one need, housing. It's across the world. I went to Costa Rica for my birthday, and they are dealing with a housing crisis in Costa Rica. Went to Guatemala and Belize this spring. Same thing across the board, everywhere. And we have an opportunity to get it right here in Atlanta. But what I've seen in my 46 years, Ms. Lillian, is that we don't use a lot of local people. We've given so many millions to pastors over the decades and decades, but local nonprofits we don't use. And we gotta give somebody an opportunity. Invest in Atlanta is a great tool, and we gotta start partnering with them in proactive and transit ways that is we have not used in the past. And all we asking for is the opportunity and the land, and we're going to do what we need to do to make it affordable and sustainable. And that's all we asking this board is to consider, to give us an opportunity to come up here and present. If you don't like what we've shared and what you see, then we just ask for an opportunity to come up here. That's all we asking for you guys, to get on the next agenda, because we know in November, everything is shut down for the holidays. We will be resuming in the new year. So we were just asking you guys to put us on the agenda before the holidays approach. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll relay that to our chair. Next up are presentations. First off is Commissioner Cutler with the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chair Westmoreland and members of the Communities Development and Human Services Committee. I'm here to present the Department of Parks and Recreation's quarterly update for the third quarter, which includes the summer and the fall. So first, we'd like to start with the 4 pillars for the City of Atlanta and the Mayor's Office. First is effective and ethical government. And some of our efforts to this end include enhanced outreach. Currently, we're running through 3 public engagement opportunities to talk about the increased millage and how people can be more involved in that activity and give us feedback on what they'd like to see related to park maintenance, park security, and recreation programming. We're also working on a council communication protocol so that we can be most effective in communicating with each of your offices, as well as coordinating on different issues throughout the organization, so we're tracking and responding in a timely manner. And as we think about a city built for the future, some of the things that we're working on relate to our Moving Atlanta Forward bond measure, in which we're looking to construct over 71 projects, and I'll have a slide later that talks about how we already have $32 million worth of projects already underway, and some are actually already complete. And so this is something that we're excited about and that we'll be delivering on this first batch at the end of fiscal year 2024. And then when we think about One Safe City, the millage increase has allowed us, and we'll be hiring our first Director of Parks and Recreation Safety. This individual, there's a council paper historically that talked about how we need a new park ranger program, and so as part of that initiative, we're going to be hiring our first Director of Public Safety this fall, and then begin recruitment of additional rangers and support for park safety, so that will be coming our way this fiscal year. And then as we think about a city of opportunity for all. Some of the things that we're looking to do is expand our centers of choice, making sure that everyone has a choice to choose what they want to do at our community centers, so engaging the neighbors and the seniors and what they would like to see at our community centers, making sure that we're adding more classes and activities, both for youth and seniors, and also enhancing the hours at our community centers. Last year, we added Saturday hours. This fall and into the winter, we're looking to add Sunday hours at 4 of our sites as well. So that will provide additional opportunities for families, neighbors, friends, and older adults and young kids to come and participate 7 days a week at 4 of our community centers. Again, our mission at this Department of Parks and Recreation is to provide equitable access to outstanding recreation, natural, and cultural experiences that enhance the happiness, health, and well-being of Atlanta. And to that end, our vision is that we become the heartbeat and the heart of Atlanta. So to address some of how do we become the heartbeat, right? Well, we have to have goals and priorities. So within our recreation group, some of the things that we're focused on is making sports fun. You know, one of the things that I really enjoy about the city of Atlanta is that our sports programs are affordable. In a climate now where sports programs can cost upwards of $300 per season, our programs still cost $75 for a football season. And if that's unattainable for you, we have a sliding scale for you. So we make sports accessible for everyone. And that's something I take a lot of pride in. I know our team takes a lot of pride in. But we aren't hitting the mark completely on sports. We also recognize that we need to be able to offer more women's sports. So we're looking at women's volleyball. We're looking at other sports that we can provide, considering a soccer program at some point in the future as well, that we can provide for our community so that all Atlantans have opportunity to access sports through our Recreation Services Department. Just as a reminder, we did our Activate ATL plan back in 2021, and I want to provide you a little bit of an update on some of the activities that we've been doing. So our 3 main goals were invest, connect, and grow. And so to that end, we've worked tirelessly to invest in our facilities, invest in our staff through additional training, additional programming. We're reimagining our golf courses. We've done renovations now at Browns Mill Golf Course, where we enhanced the bunkers and we enhanced the cart paths. You may have been out there for the Mayor's Cup. We've also redone the paths at Chastain or North Fulton County Park Golf Course. And now we're going to be redoing the irrigation and the cart paths at Tup Homes Golf Course this fall and into the winter. So a lot of things happening in our golf courses. We're also connecting more and making sure that the land that we acquire provides additional access for people. So we may have a park and part of the park may not be accessible because there's a house or a road in the way, and so we're looking to acquire property to better connect our parks. To that end, we purchased Farmer Red's farm out in District 1 in Councilmember Winston's district. We've been looking at additional parks in Council District 12 around Utoy Creek in the South River Forest area, as well as purchased a property in Councilmember Bakhtiari's district in Kirkwood Urban Forest. So we're really making our best effort to make sure that we're providing access and opportunity for as many Atlantans to experience parks and recreation opportunities. And that means that we're growing our system, right? And as we grow our system, we need to grow the resources that we have. So thank you to the council for providing an enhanced millage to be able to better maintain our system. I'll actually be coming back in December for another quarterly update, and then in January for the full report on how we intend to spend those resources. But a little bit about the summer. So we had Camp Best Friends program. We had 21 different centers that had Camp Best Friends. We traveled to 20 different sites for our field trips across the 8 weeks that we offered the program. We hosted aquatics camps, tennis camps, senior camps, and we hired over 185 young people to help facilitate these activities. And we brought back our Day at the Lake program at Lake Allatoona, which was a one-day experience which took campers up there to go boating, to use canoes and kayaks, and to have an outdoor nature experience. And this next year, we intend to bring back the week-long camp. And so we're working right now to hire a camp program director at Lake Allatoona that will help facilitate both camps and activities as well as rentals up at the lake. We also have our Primetime Senior Program, and yesterday we had the honor and privilege of celebrating 40-plus seniors that traveled to Philadelphia to participate in the annual Senior Games activity. So the Department of Parks and Rec, Constituent Services, and the mayor were there to celebrate the seniors that went and won gold on behalf of Atlantans. We had several members take gold, bronze, and silver, and many even ribboned in a lot of different activities. So we're really proud of our seniors, and it was a great day to celebrate their accomplishments and pour into them as they have poured into us for so many years. One of the things that we intend to do with our senior programs going forward is also reintroduce a senior athletics program that had gone dormant for some time. And this will help to further enhance our active offerings. Seniors nowadays, they don't just want crafts or sedentary activities. They're looking to be physically active well into their 80s and 90s. And so we need to be responsive to that need. And so we'll be offering a senior athletic program beginning this spring. Also, we're looking to expand primetime senior programming. Currently, we had 5 sites last year. Now we have over 15 sites, and we're looking to add additional sites for our older adults to make sure that they have access to opportunity, socialization, and different experiences. One of the major initiatives that we're part of is Year of the Youth. And so to this end, we have been working to enhance our STEM and STEAM education programs as part of Camp Best Friends and our after-school program. Last year, we had 1 vendor for our after-school program. This year, we have 12 vendors. Part of the reason we had 12 vendors is because of we did an RFP to get additional vendors, but also the purchasing policies that you adopted as City Council have helped us be more responsive to different proposers, nonprofits, and different groups that want to provide services. So now we have more flexibility and more opportunity to bring groups on faster to get kids the services they need in a timely fashion. So thank you for your help with that. We also are launching our first gaming and esports location at Thomasville Recreation Center. That will be opening in the middle of October. So we're really excited to be able to offer that now. It's one of the fastest growing sports in addition to pickleball. So we want to be responsive to providing esports opportunities. Also, we have our Teen Leader program. This summer, we had over 110 players in our summer basketball program. This happened 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays through the month of July at Central Park. We had a great turnout. We had over 10 teams and 110 players. We also launched a boys academy and had young men ages 13 to 15 teaching life skills and professional skills. 30 teens received an exclusive all-access tour of Tyler Perry Studios as part of this experience. And 2 teen leaders even earned paid internships with HBCUs. So we were really excited about the work of our Teen Leader program and the way we were able to engage young teens this summer in healthy and safe activities. Another healthy activity that we do that a lot of people don't think about is summer food programs. Our summer food program is one of the programs that, again, I really enjoy and I'm really excited about because this year we served over 74,000 meals in the month of July. A lot of people don't think of Parks and Recreation and think of food security, but our parks and our bus here that you see on this picture is one of the things that really delivers food where it needs to be. So we travel around to 26 different sites in 2022, and this year we're able to increase it to 38 sites due to the good work of Shelby Beverly and her team at the Department of Parks and Rec and working with the food team. And we increased our program reimbursement by 211%, which means now that we have more resources to deliver more food. And we're really proud of the work that Shelby and the mobile food team did here this last summer. Also, we have our activation program. So how do we provide pro-social activities in our parks? We have our popsicles in the parks. We did cool treats at the pool where we gave away ice cream and popsicles. We had our Playmobil, which traveled around to parks where they don't have a community center to provide more opportunities, and they went to special events. We had a community festival with actress Storm Reed and tennis pro Coco Gauff, who recently won the U.S. Open. She was at Brownwood Park. And we also cut ribbon on Cascade Springs. We have a great new sculpture there at Cascade Springs, new parking lot, which is beautiful. And we had the groundbreaking at Oakland, Historic Oakland Cemetery. They're building a new $12 million visitor center right there at the entry gates. Our aquatics program, this last year, we were able to reestablish management of our aquatics program. And so we were able to open all 12 pools by the first part of June, which is a feat in and of itself, having to hire over 100 plus young people. Really, 80% of our lifeguards were high school or college students. And I know that we got some feedback in the month of August when we had to reduce our operations from 12 pools Friday, kind of Monday through Sunday. We offered 6 pools Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all 12 pools were open. And then in August, we had to reduce our capacity to 2 days only at 3 pools, John A. White, Maddox Park, and Grant Park. And the reason we had to reduce that is because 80% of our staff are young people. They're high school students, they're college students, and they go back to school beginning in August. They have trips, they have football practice, they have other activities that they're participating in. And so we had to reduce our operations. And now I know that there was comments that were provided on different social media accounts, and we'd love to have those individuals participate as employees to help us make a difference next summer. You know, we don't want to have to close pools, but when the majority of our employees are in high school and college, sometimes we have to make those hard choices. And unfortunately, it was during a really hot month. So we hope to avoid that next summer or think about how we can open more pools more often. but we're committed to sustaining the operations of our pools in the long term. And this year, I didn't receive a single email about bad-looking bathroom, green water at anybody's pool. So I'm really excited for the work that Marcus Bynum did and the team on our aquatics team did to make sure that we had a successful and safe summer. So kudos to the team at the aquatics group. Also, we have our pickleball pilot underway. You've heard me talk about pickleball a lot from this dais, and we're well underway with our pilot. We're going to be having 47 total pickleball courts. 14 will be dedicated. We're working on 6 courts right now at Southside Sports Complex. We'll have 33 shared or overlay courts where you have multiple lines. You have tennis and pickleball. And we've been working through some issues that we've been having at McClatchy Park where we have conflicts between neighbor and pickleball players. We actually hosted kind of a forum there with the community and got both sides of the coin, if you will, to meet and talk about what we can do differently as neighbors, and really centered the neighbor experience and centered the pickleball and talked about what can we do differently and brought neighbors together. And as the mayor often talks about, we drew circles together and figured out how we can work better together as neighbors. So moving forward temporarily with a solution at McClatchy, and then eventually pickleball won't be played at McClatchy because it doesn't fit within our guidelines. So looking to build capacity elsewhere so that we can make that happen. But in summary, our summer, we hired over 185 youth. We had over 56,000 rounds of golf, $1.4 million in golf revenue. We reserved over 258 courts and fields, and we had over 477 pavilion and grease race reservations. These are people and families and groups that come to our parks and our playgrounds to have a great time, celebrate a birthday, celebrate a repast or reunion, and we provided that on behalf of our neighbors. Some metrics related to our park operations, and I think this is an area that the millage increase is committed to covering here. And so if you see on this slide, you see on the right our target, and then you see on the left our average, and you'll notice that many of those categories are below the target. And so this is why we ask for additional resources, and council and the mayor provide those resources. Is we're going to be working on tackling our responsiveness related specifically to carpentry, plumbing. You see HVAC on there, forestry. And so those are the areas that we get a lot of complaints about, is our responsiveness related to litter, mowing, trash, limbs being picked up, trees being cut out of the right of way. And so the millage increase will go to many of those things. And right now, we're working hard to get feedback from the public. So then we have our Moving Atlanta Forward bond measure, and I talked briefly about this earlier. We've delivered on, we'll be delivering on in $32 million worth of projects. That's over, and our total bond capacity is $146 million. So a little, I won't say it over like a third because it's not, but getting close to at least getting to under $100 million. Many of those larger projects will happen in year 3 and year 4. So we're starting to make a huge dent, and the park design team led by Alvin Dodson is doing a great job to deliver on these projects and make sure that we're acquiring land as well. We've already acquired 46 acres this year from South River Forest. We've also acquired 3.2 acres in Ormwood Forest, and over 27 acres. We have legislation pending for UTOY later this month. So we're really excited about that, and we're using tree trust funds for those acquisitions. So a lot is happening. Now, you may have heard this morning, many people were talking on the radio about the urban forestry investment that's being made by the Biden administration. And so the city of Atlanta received over $17.5 million divided out to these 4 groups here: Department of Parks and Rec receiving $5 million, Trees Atlanta $10 million, Partnerships for Southern Equity $2 million, and Eco Action just under $500,000. So all of these funds will be used to plant more trees, to help us develop our first comprehensive forest master plan, to employ young people, also establishing a strategy and standards for systematic, equitable, and effective management of our urban forests. So how can we better manage the trees that we are entrusted with? And also in disadvantaged areas, making up 49.6% of the city. The project will complete a comprehensive urban forestry assessment to make sure that we're managing the trees on behalf of our neighbors to reduce risk and also increase maintenance. So a lot of work is happening in partnership with these different entities. Also, we've been busy hiring new staff and rethinking the Department of Parks and Rec. And so across my first year, we have established the Office of Administration, Strategy, and Innovation. This is headed by LaShawn Dudley, who is formerly with the Mayor's Office of Equity, Inclusion, Diversity, and Inclusion. And so she's come on board as our Administration, Strategy, and Innovation Deputy Commissioner, and she's leading a team of people focused on HR, process improvement, data, strategy, and innovation. So really excited to have her on the team. We established an Office of Partnerships and Enterprise under Rachel Marr, who's previously with Park Pride. And so one of the things that we've gotten feedback on is needing to do a better job of engaging our community partners, making sure that we're more responsive and better facilitating those activities. And so she's been tasked with creating better connections with our partners and engaging people and how they can partner with the city of Atlanta. We also hired a new director of recreation, Danette Leiniger. We hired a new director, Henry Thompson, was promoted to the finance and budget manager or director. And then we promoted Carmen Anderson to legislative affairs assistant to help better coordinate our legislation, which we know you see a lot of on our behalf. So then we also hired 3 new performance and operations specialists. These were all internal promotions or a transfer from the Department of Parks and Public Works. And so these individuals will be focused on continuous improvement, employee engagement, and helping us to do better with the resources that we have. And oh, by the way, the National Recreation Parks Association Conference is coming to Atlanta in 2024, and we're excited to be able to host that. So now to a little bit about the millage. So currently we're hosting 3 community meetings. We had our first meeting yesterday. That was from 6 to 7:30, or 6 to 8 o'clock roughly. We have another one on Friday at 1:30, and so there's more information on our social media accounts. Please consider sharing that with your friends and neighbors. This is an opportunity for the community to give us feedback on what they would like to see the millage dollars spent on. Last night, we heard several themes related to maintenance, both increasing litter pickup, improving mowing, as well as also the response time when a ticket is submitted or a work order submitted. 45 business days or 9 weeks is a long time, and people would like to see that shortened. So the team's hard at work right now preparing a package that will address many of those issues, but we still need your feedback on what are the other things that you want us to address. Oftentimes we hear maintenance. So my question back to people is, well, what type of maintenance, right? Is it graffiti? Is it mowing? Maintenance means a lot of different things, so we're really trying to narrow down on what people want to see different. Also, we know that 90% of Atlantans support improving and upgrading our parks and recreation and outdoor facilities, so we're really excited about that number, and we'll continue to earn that trust through this effort, and that's why it's important to engage community. And lastly, we use our equity data tool, and this will be getting an update as part of this next fiscal year. We received a grant from Bloomberg, and we're working in partnership with the Mayor's Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion to update this information, make sure it's as current as possible, so we're making timely decisions and investing in parks and recreation on behalf of our neighbors in an equitable manner. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions, and here's our social media accounts for the viewing audience at home.
Thank you very much. We have been joined by council members Antonio Lewis and Byron Amos, and Mr. Lewis is going to kick us off.
Thank you, Commissioner, for today and for your report. I always look forward to today and these quarterly reports coming from Parks. I think this summer was a pretty exciting summer. I know every time I went over to the Recreation Center, it was packed and the kids were smiling, particularly with the summer feeding programs and being innovative and growing in those ways. But I also wanted to reach out to talk to you about morale. I know that I've been seeing I know we added days for Saturday and Sunday, but the union created a 40-hour work week, and we're trying to keep with that. But when we're stretching, we're asking them to take one day off in the week to work on Saturday 4 hours and Sunday 4 hours. Is that what we're doing now?
No, what we're doing is we're shifting. So we have a large number of full-time staff. We have very little part-time staff. And so what we're exploring and what we'll be doing over the next year is maintaining our existing full-time staff and adding additional part-time staff. The benefit of that is we get to hire college students and people looking for a more flexible working arrangement. And so they may want to work on Saturday and Sunday because it's a second job or it fits their school schedule. And then we'll be retaining the full-time staff and adding those positions as well. And so we're able to both gain entry-level employees through those part-time positions that become eventual full-time staff, as well as offer more services to the public. You know, one of the things we know is that people work, like you said, 5 days a week. They work Monday through Friday. Some people work 7 days a week, right? Our job as recreation professionals is to be available when people want to recreate. And so it's part of our mission and it's part of our values as parks and recreation professionals to make sure that we are providing services when people aren't working. That's one of the things that we do in Parks and Rec, and that's really critical, is that we provide opportunities for people to recreate when they need the service, not when it's convenient for us. And so we have to restructure how we think about service, right? And so that's why we're hiring more staff to be more flexible. And yes, I don't want anybody working over 40 hours a week, right? And we have a lot of staff that also choose to work over 40 hours a week through extra help positions or second assignments, and that's their choice. But we don't require anybody to work over 40 hours a week.
I think I can explain a little bit. I think I can ask my question a little different. And so I'm thinking of like young folks who I know we have folks who work for our city who have always worked 40 hours a week. They now have a stretch day where the only way they can hit 40 hours a week is if they work 4 hours Saturday and 4 hours Sunday. And so now they're working 6 days a week or 7 days a week, but only hitting 40 hours.
Yeah, if that's happening, I'll address that. We shouldn't be doing that. We need to look comprehensively at people's schedules, and we need to make sure that our hours fit with both within people's schedules as well as fit within the needs of the organization, and I believe we can find a way to make it happen.
And I like the other idea of bringing in college students so they can work weekends, because that's how I grew up with the gyms open on weekends. But the stretch thing we're doing, I appreciate you for wanting to look at that and wanting to change it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Thank you. Hey, Commissioner. I'll let you finish taking your name.
Yeah.
Hey. First, just wanted to say thank you. I mean, the degree to which things have drastically improved since you came on board with your team, and obviously the longstanding team we've had with Aaron Weiner, Doug Voss, Alvin, Keith, everybody, they've been fantastic. And I'm very excited to hear about the new hires that are coming on with the rec center. I wanted to ask how, I saw on the last page the piece around how operations had improved, that we're getting there on some of the pieces. I wanted to see to what degree things have picked up since we were able to allocate additional funding during our last fiscal year.
We received the funds beginning July 1st, and so some of the things that we've done is we've invested a small chunk in arboriculture so that we could address storm and wind-blown trees, so we are working to address the forestry metric. One of the big areas that we're working on is the HVAC and air conditioning, right? It's hot in Atlanta, and so we want to make sure that our centers are both adequately heated and adequately cooled, and so we have a backlog of maintenance items, so we're starting to do that slowly. I do want to honor the request that council had that we come back to you in January and provide kind of a strategy.
Yep.
So we're being measured in our approach and really trying to address the most critical concerns. And you'll see this first year that a lot of the investment will be in contract services. So looking to do HVAC, plumbing, electrical. There's some sinks out at CT Martin that we need to address that are having drainage issues. There's ceiling tiles that are falling, right? There's things that we know that we need to do that we can hire a contractor now to do. And so we're thinking of it as a 3-year plan. And so over the first year, we'll be investing in contract services. Second year, we'll have a good blend of contract and employees. And then third year, we'll have even a better blend of both contract services and employees working on behalf of the department to address some of these issues. But it'll take us 3 years to get there, but that's the direction that we're headed.
That's great to hear. And I know in the blink of an eye, 3 years will be come and go.
It'll go fast.
And for the cameras, I was also hoping would it be possible to get a district-specific sheet on where those are being installed?
Yep.
And so that, to one, better understand, we've had definitely an uptick in issues in the park. So just having an understanding of where those cameras are going, also making sure that we're communicating that to APD as well, and just ensuring that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, and to answer that question, one of the things that we're doing is APD has identified the kind of the top 20 parks where we have incidences, and so those are the parks in which we're addressing first. Tonight, I'll be going to William Walker and meeting with Lewis Woodson and the community there to talk about a recent incident that occurred just adjacent to the football field. And so, this is something that we're working on proactively to work with APD, work with our one park ranger, and work with our camera team to make sure that we have those cameras. But we'll get you that district list.
Thank you so much. And also, since one of the big gaps that your team has, that the department's really started closing in on, is the lack of funding we had around operations, and the task that there have been so many acres of green space added without an uptick in the actual budget. So I'm glad that we've amended that, taken a strong first step over this last fiscal year when we adopted the budget. But I was also hoping that with that gap closing, we would also be able to take a look at more programming around the park ranger program. I know we have officers saying that's the officer we've hired. Have there been discussions about hiring additional officers or programming for youth? I'm glad to hear that we've hired a number of youth over the summer, but hoping that we can incorporate some of those hires into the park ranger program. Have we had the opportunity to begin exploring that? I know you've had your hands full, so I understand.
Yeah, we haven't explored, are you talking more about like nature programs, like kind of I don't want to say typical park ranger, right? But is that more what you're thinking, or is it more like kind of park safety oriented? What, yeah.
Absolutely, park safety being one. I was wondering if there's also going to be any type of educational programming that's also incorporated through the program at all, or if that will be something separate.
So at this point, we haven't related to like environmental education that you may see with like your typical national park ranger. These will definitely be more focused on just park safety and addressing encampments in our parks, different ongoing issues that we have related to antisocial behavior. But I think we are working with WAWA, Westside Watershed Alliance, and the Thrive Outside initiative to offer more nature-oriented programming. So we will be working with WAWA to make sure that we have that type of programming, kind of close to home nature experiences in partnership. So,
That's great to hear, because there's I don't think there's a better organization to head that up. And in terms of the encampment piece, when addressing encampment, I would like to formally make the request on record that when addressing encampments in District 5, if my office could be incorporated in that. We've managed to do a lot of work with organizations like In-Town Collaborative Ministries and PAD, or In-Town Cares is now what they're called, to do rehousing efforts and outreach. And so just being in the loop about how those encampments are being addressed, and just making sure that I'm able to assist, because to the degree that we can do that compassionately and ensure that we're actually placing people with options and extending resources, I would love to be involved and help in any way that I can. So I will also reach out to Officer Singh as well and make that known, but just wanted to ensure that I made that ask. And I was also going to ask, have we begun expanding the programming or the hiring that was done over the summer for youth? Is that going to be something we begin looking into for year-round?
hiring youth year-round, yes. I mean, I think we always need lifeguards, which is a big issue. We always need Camp Best after-school program facilitators and coordinators to help support the young people in our program. So those are two opportunities immediately that come to mind. But as far as like a formal job training program, we use our Teen Leader Academy, and they have internships and employment opportunities through the Teen Leadership Academy.
Okay, awesome. Is there also the biggest ask? I'm glad to hear about the senior programming. I know we talked about that this morning. But I was also curious, the number one question I get asked when I go to my senior towers and when I work with seniors is, can I give them a job? Obviously, obviously we know that offices can't hire a bunch of people, but that is always a big ask from seniors, is a lot of them that live in the towers want to work. Could we explore opportunities around perhaps providing jobs for doing a pilot program for hiring seniors as well, for even if it's...
Yeah, I'd love to explore that. And what's interesting is Councilmember Dozier sent me an article related to seniors being lifeguards. Mm-hmm. And so we're happy to have seniors be lifeguards. That's an opportunity, but we also have front desk attendants, recreation, support staff that can participate and help facilitate programming for older adults as well as for our young people. So they can do that work. And if they're willing and able and want to show up, and we're happy to have them help. And so I'd encourage them to apply at our website. But if you wanted to actively engage them, we're happy to have a recruitment day and a recruitment event and more actively engage seniors in our outreach.
Happy to do that. We're doing currently working with the Office of Constituent Affairs and Commissioner Clay to go around our senior towers. So maybe this is something we can collaborate on. So
that'd be great.
I will reach out about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Winston, followed by Council President Shipman, followed by Councilmember Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Cutler, for the presentation. Councilmember Westmoreland and I were just laughing because we were both comparing our notes, and we had on there about seniors for getting jobs, and lifeguards was one of the ones, because Councilmember Dozier also shared that article with us. And yeah, but I think that's also a great idea to explore. But I do want to give kudos to your new aquatics director and your team who did a really good job of managing our pools this summer. I know we had the little hiccup at the end closing, but I think that we start looking for outside the box ideas in terms of hiring personnel that can continue to work during some of those transitional months when kids are going back to school. But it's still 100 degrees in Atlanta, so we still want to do everything we can to try to keep our pools open as long as possible. And the only other thing I wanted to bring up, just more of a statement, and just thanking the park rangers who have been really doing a great job in our parks. One example of something that they've been doing is really working with the unhoused population in our parks, not necessarily being a force or a menace to kick them out of our parks, but also looking for services for them. I've been on those calls and text messages. I know Councilmember Westmoreland has as well, where our park rangers, Friday nights at 11 o'clock are in our parks, are making the calls to us and other people that work for the city and trying to find shelter for individuals. And I'm hoping we continue to do that because I've seen how it's been working, and we've really been helping some individuals that need that help in our park. So just wanted to just make that statement and make you aware.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Shipman.
Thank you. Mr. Commissioner, good to see you. First, I want to, and I was proud to be a part of the session where the grants were announced regarding trees. I just want to publicly thank your department for all of the work and all the partnership with various nonprofits and across the city government to be a part of that historic achievement. I just wanted to touch on two things. One, there's a workforce component of that that will try to develop arborists and other workforce related to maintenance and such. Is the department a part of that workforce development? Could you touch on a little bit about how the city may benefit from that workforce development as part of those grants? And
Yeah.
two, just related to that, wanted to understand a little bit about, are there opportunities for, it said reforestation, do you see opportunities for reforestation at the edges of some of our parks or on some of the land that's been acquired? Could you just touch on that as well?
Yeah, happy to do. So the workforce component, I know for a fact that it's included in the Trees Atlanta aspect. Within our component, the $5 billion, some elements were trimmed out. I don't know for sure which elements were trimmed out, but I will confirm and get back to you on it if our $5 billion includes a workforce component. I do know that regardless of the tree grant, we are working with Greening Youth Foundation to identify ways that we can bring on, they have an arbor training program, and so we're looking to bring on their young students into our workforce to help with our forestry team. So we are doing that separate from the grant, but I'll see if this grant fund of $5 billion includes any workforce component with the city. To your point about trees being planted in parks, we're happy to receive trees in our parks. We receive a lot of trees in our parks. I often think, though, about the right tree in the right space, and so we want to make sure that we're putting the trees where they aren't not in the middle of a field or not in an area that has to be mowed, and so, or that we want to mow for somebody to throw a frisbee, kick a soccer ball, throw a football, right? And so we have to be, I think we need to start looking at also tree replacement. So we know that some of our trees are coming of age, they're starting to blow over. And so how are we positioning trees in parts of our park that will replace the tree that is about to die, or that we know will die in 10 years? So that tree has the opportunity to grow and replace that tree. So I think there's two efforts there that we can do, look at the edges, but also look at how can we begin a tree replacement program to think ahead to different disease and climate change that impacts our urban forestry.
Good, I appreciate that. You touched on expanding women's sports as part of recreation. Could you just talk a little bit more about that? I think that is a key element as we think about our recreation programs.
Yeah, currently we offer women's volleyball, we offer majorette dance, and we offer cheerleading, and then we have women's basketball as well. We're looking to add potentially a soccer program, both young men and young women. This last year, as part of the Mayor's Midnight Basketball Program, we have 10 female teams that are playing, which I know shows the mayor's commitment to making sure that everyone has the opportunity to play in our Midnight Basketball Program. So we're working really hard to make sure that our young women have opportunities for sports and interaction, and looking to do that more. But if there's a specific sport that our young women are looking to participate in, we're happy to work with a group or a small group of people to engage the broader community and how can we create a league or an opportunity. And oftentimes, I have a 13-year-old daughter at home, and we know that sports participation drops around the age of 12 and 13, both for our young men and our young women, but more importantly for our young women. So we have to think about how can we make sports fun? How can we make it a social activity? How can we reduce the competitive side of it and make sports about community, healthy living, active living, and reduce the competitive nature, but still offer a fun, physical, engaging environment. And so I think that's what we need to think about in Parks and Rec is how do we not be the elite sport, but still provide a good product, but also how do we make sure it's fun and meets a need in our community so that everyone has access to sport, not just people that can afford a travel team or another type of sport. So.
Right. Just two other quick things. One, could you just update us on the tennis management procurement process? It's something we've been asked a lot about. I've been asked by constituents. We've been asking other committees.
Yeah, happy to speak to that. So I can tell you for a fact that we received one proposal, and that proposal, we're currently evaluating that proposal and negotiating a contract, and council will review that contract and approve that contract at some point in the near future.
Any notion on timing?
I don't have that offhand, but I'll get back to you.
Right. And then finally, I'd just say, just two cents, you ask about where some of the millage, I'm glad we're doing the community engagement. I do think we should look closely at very heavily used assets, whether they be heavily used playground equipment that we know is just going to wear out and put them on an accelerated timeline. Places like Freedom Path and Proctor Creek Trail, these are heavily used for bikes, for pedestrians, for strollers, and I think they wear out somewhat more quickly than other assets. I would just sort of, a lot of folks that call me about maintenance, actually, if you look at what they're calling about, it's usually some of the more heavily used things, and so I think disaggregating those and saying, hey, there are just some things that are going to wear out more quickly, they're just the traffic on them are going to make it so we need to overinvest in them is something we should look at in this millage increase.
Great point. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was curious. I know that we've had some aggressive efforts to ensure that cameras are in all of our parks. So I wanted to get an update on that. And secondly, I wanted to go back to Councilmember Lewis's inquiry with respect to staff working 7 days an hour. Are you committed now that this has been brought to your attention to ensure that the staff is not working 7 days a week? And I'm happy to continue this conversation offline, but just wanted to ensure that we are working to build morale among city employees and that we are working in their best interests.
Yeah, no, I think there's 2 points of clarification. One is that staff may choose to work 7 days a week by having a second assignment. So if I'm a staff member and I have my normal job is, let's say, a recreation attendant, and then I have a second assignment as a picnic shelter reservation specialist, or I have a second assignment as a rental attendant. My primary job as a recreation assistant pays me $15, $16, $17 an hour, right? My secondary job as a second assignment, being a rental coordinator, may pay me $25 an hour. So it may actually be to my benefit to work 7 days a week because now we're able to work at a different job, make more money, and so we do have some staff that choose to work 6 or 7 days a week. I'm not requiring them to work that time. They're choosing that second assignment to work in that capacity to provide additional support. I don't want to take away that choice because that's the choice that employee is making because they can make a higher wage doing that opportunity. Now, if you're telling me that I have managers and supervisors that are requiring my team members to work 7 days a week in order to achieve 40 hours a week, that's an issue and we'll address it. That's illegal, right? If you're like basically asking somebody to work more hours than they need to, right? But if they have to work 7 days a week in order to achieve their 40 hours, yeah, we'll look into that. I think it's important that
It's my understanding that that is the issue.
And if that's the issue, then we'll work on that, yeah.
And we're happy to discuss this offline, but I'm referring to the Roselle Fan Facility where you had an individual who served for the city for an 18-year period of time, and the requirement was that this person work 7 days a week to achieve the 40-hour threshold is what the concern is. And I'm not saying that it's true, but it's my belief that that's something that we can do to certainly accommodate those individuals.
Definitely.
And lastly, the cameras. Can you speak to where we are in terms of ensuring that there are cameras at all city parks?
Yes, so I'm not going to ensure that there are cameras at all city parks, but at minimum, right now we have $4 million from the Moving Atlanta Forward bond measure, and we're targeting our top 20 parks where we know we have the highest number of incidences. So we're looking at William Walker, we're looking at Selena Butler, we have Grant Park, Piedmont Park, Woodruff Park, Rosa Birney Park we just completed in Mechanicsville where we had an incident. So we're taking a data-driven approach and looking at where we need cameras and addressing those parks first. In addition to that, we also have the ability to deploy temporary cameras. So we're working with APD, and right now we have a camera at Mosley Park because we had a break-in at CA Scott, and we'll have that there until we get permanent cameras. We have cameras at Deerwood Park because we've had incidences there. So we will move cameras where they need to be placed if we hear of another incidences occurring. Another example is at like South Bend Park. We had incidences of dumping. So we would work with our partners at DPW. They would provide us one of their dumping cameras to target different sites. So we would then use that camera. South Bend Park is another park that we're looking to have more cameras in. That's in the Lakewood area. So we're using that information to identify where the cameras need to be deployed, and then we'll work on the next set of parks to make sure that they have cameras as well.
Final thought, Mr. Chair. Are these cameras tapped into the VIC system where we can see them live with APD?
They are, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Avis is going to bring us home.
Yes, sir. Commissioner, how you doing?
Good.
As I was listening on Channel 26, so thank you to Channel 26. And as I got here, I was hoping to hear something different about the only park that is treated different, and that's Anderson Park. All of these wonderful activities, which ones are taking place other than the Police Athletic League in Anderson Park?
Yeah, so every Saturday we have our football program that is at Anderson Park. So we use that large multi-purpose field out there as the City of Atlanta's field. So we use that for our football and our cheer program. So every Saturday you can come down there and watch the young people playing football. That's a great opportunity. Also, we're working with the Police Activities League. We have senior pickleball that we provided there. They also have an arts and crafts program there. We're working with PAL to provide fitness, but we're constantly engaged with the Dixie Hills neighborhood and the NPU to identify programs and activities that need to take place at Anderson, and we're bringing resources to make sure that that's happening.
So to be clear, I can jump online and find that you just said in a laid out manner like all the rest of the parks are.
I will email it to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is the quarterly report from Invest Atlanta and Dr. Clementich.
Yes, thank you, committee. We're excited to be here. My name is Eloisa Clementich, proud president and CEO at Invest Atlanta. As you know, to operate these wonderful programs, you need to have even better, amazing staff. So there'll be a team of us presenting today's quarterly update. First, we'll start with Jennifer Fine, who handles all of our tax allocation district and community programming. Then Jeff Morris, who is handling all of our new program, and he'll go into details there. And then Melody Eccles will close us off on commercial pace. So Jennifer.
Thank you. Good afternoon. There we go. All right, so as I do each quarter, I'm going to give you an update on TAD project activities so far in 2023. This really is for folks who might not be as familiar with the city's tax allocation district program. This map obviously shows all 10 TADs, locations throughout the city. Very important to note specifically for this committee that as of June 2023, the Princeton Lakes TAD was dissolved. So all of that property tax generated is going back to the taxing jurisdictions, in this case, the city and the county. So we're very happy about that. So now we have 9 active TADs. So this slide provides an overview of project approvals, again, so far in 2023 through the end of August. We've approved 10 projects in 4 tax allocation districts. $11 million has been awarded, which then in turn leverages about $141 million in private investment throughout the city. I thought it would be good to provide a visual of all 10 of these projects. There we go. So you can see so far this year we've had a lot of activity in the Perry Bolton TAD and in the East Side TAD, in particular in the Sweet Auburn neighborhood. We've been really hard at work with stakeholder groups and community members and property owners in that neighborhood, so very pleased with the activity so far. So this table has specific information on all 10 of those projects. I frequently say this, every time I say this when I do this update, that we're really proud of the diversity of project types and the different tax allocation districts and areas of the city where we're making this investment. These projects represent 399 new residential units. That includes single-family and multifamily, of which 335 will be affordable at area median incomes between 30% and 80%. So very deep levels of affordability that we're also very proud of. And then also tax allocation district dollars, one of the few resources that can help incentivize commercial development. So we do have a few projects where we've seen long vacant commercial buildings reactivated to provide neighborhood-oriented community space, retail, and office. So the next 3 slides, I like to provide kind of a visual of what are these projects? What do they look like? Where are they? What do they feel like? And what do they hope to do? So the one on the top is the Centerwell Senior Primary Care Facility that just had its grand opening in July of this year, so just a couple months ago. So $750,000 Perry Bolton TAD grant was awarded to completely renovate a long vacant commercial building. Building had been vacant for over 2 decades on Donald Lee Hollowell. It's now a very much needed community resource providing critical medical care services to seniors in the neighborhood. The bottom image is the historic Oddfellows building in the Sweet Auburn neighborhood. It will be renovated to be the home of Georgia Works, a nonprofit serving chronically homeless men in a residential setting as they work towards gainful employment and stable, affordable housing. Really encouraged about this project for a number of reasons, not just the work that's being done within the building, but the building itself and the importance of bringing that building back to life and reactivating that ground floor retail. It will be occupied by 3 or 4 different retail providers, including food-oriented, a place that will provide not only food for the program participants, but also offering food for the community in a restaurant-type setting. Top image should look familiar to most of you. That's the historic Prince Hall Masonic Lodge building, again, also in Sweet Auburn. We've awarded a $250,000 pre-development loan out of our Eastside TAD, as well as a $1.5 million Eastside TAD grant to rehabilitate the historic building to provide about 16,000 square feet of multi-use space to include retail, office, and National Park Service space to operate an educational and interpretive exhibit of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s office. Image below shows phase 1 of a single-family project in the Cary Park neighborhood in the Perry Bolton TAD. We provided a $1.5 million grant that will be used to create 20 affordable single-family for-sale homes. It's actually part of a larger project that will create 50 homes in a larger area. These 20 are within the Perry Bolton TAD, so those are the ones that will be receiving funding. Also important to know that 10 of these homes will be permanently affordable through a relationship with the Community Land Trust. So that's affordable in perpetuity, which is really, really encouraging because it's very hard and challenging to do. And then the last slide shows Inglewood Senior Development in the Beltline TAD in the Chosewood neighborhood. The project recently received a $3 million Beltline TAD grant. This project will create 160 units of housing at no more than 60% of area median income. So again, pretty deep levels of affordability. And then also really important is that this project potentially will reach permanent affordability because the land is owned by Atlanta Housing, who will provide a long-term ground lease to the developer, therefore protecting that affordability for at least 75 years. I think that is my last slide, and I'll turn it over to Jeff Morris to talk about Small Business Association Grant Program.
Good afternoon, council members. It's good to put some faces with some email addresses, because I've been emailing a lot of you guys over the last couple of months. Thank you. In 2022, you allocated $160,000 for us to incorporate this plan. and create a small business association grant program. And the council members nominated the associations in the following categories: supporting an existing business association, helping an existing association achieve stability, and sending funds to establish a new association. And for the association to qualify for the program, they need to be in good standings with the city, have a registered with the Secretary of State, and have a current business license, or at least applied for a business license, and sign an agreement with Invest Atlanta. The funding is to support each of the districts for $160,000 with the budget for $10,000 per grant to encourage business growth and competitiveness and to help them stay organized and connected to the community. The roles of the association include creating partnerships between the business, the government, and the nonprofits within the area, and act as a collective voice for policy advocacy, connecting the businesses with local customers so it can stay in the community, and providing access to a lot of the resources. If you look at the red stars, those are our resource centers. These are centers that are staffed by Invest Atlanta specialists that help a lot of the business owners with a lot of the needs that they have, such as marketing, social media, HR, and these are at no cost to the business owners. We have 4 semi-annual reports that they will submit to us electronically, and they're customized with their logos and branding on it for the 2-year reporting period to ensure that the associations are staying abreast of the scope of services that they're going to adhere to the agreement that they signed. And we have monthly touch points with the associations, and we had a kickoff meeting a couple of weeks ago to give them an update on how the program is going to work. Some of the deliverables that they have for us is to create workshops, create business expos, networking events, website development for a lot of the associations, because a lot of them don't have websites yet, membership drives to grow those numbers, entrepreneurship training, and then business entity centers, which is going to help small businesses get all the documentation they need to get up and running. And that's the end of the presentation. Any questions?
Oh, we'll do questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Melody Eccles here with Invest Atlanta. I have reported on CPACE recently at a few different committees, so this may not be news to a few of y'all, but we just wanted to make sure that we're using every forum possible to share the information about this program. So Commercial Property Says Clean Energy, or CPACE, Invest Atlanta launched this program initially in 2021 as a response to the city adopting its climate action plan with goals of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and achieving 100% clean energy. How CPACE financing works is that commercial property owners in the city can utilize private financing for energy efficiency, water efficiency, renewable energy, and resiliency improvements to their properties. That financing gets structured as a long-term loan over the useful life of those improvements, up to 30 years, and the loan gets repaid on an annual basis as a special assessment line item on that property's property tax bill. One of the benefits of CPACE financing that's noted here that I just want to highlight is that this program is accessible not only to our large, big developers, but it's also accessible capital for some of our startup or minority or boutique developers in the city. When we launched the program in 2021, we did so with a group called Y-Green, who was the program administrator and sole capital provider for the program, and they had exclusive rights to finance any and all deals that came through the program. In the first 18 months, we did close on 4 financings for 3 historic properties for some energy improvements to those properties. Those seen here, you may recognize them: the Grant Building, the Flatiron Building, and Pullman Yards Building, for over $16 million in private financing. So what's new? You may have seen a press release that was issued last week by Invest Atlanta is restructuring the program as an open market, which just means that Invest Atlanta is taking on the role of program administrator, and we are allowing several capital providers to enter into the market. So property owners can utilize their own financing relationships, and will allow just for more accessibility and flexibility for property owners to access this capital. Applications for the newly restructured program are officially open, and folks can go to investatlanta.com/PACE to learn more about that. There's some more details on here that I'm happy to answer any questions for after the presentation, but I'll hand it over to Dr. Klementich.
And I get to wrap up this amazing team. We were specifically asked to provide an update on the Centennial Yards project. So for those that can see the slide, I noticed the blue, I won't use that color again, so my apologies, it's hard to see. So what I did on the left is I put what the community benefits agreement was, and then on the right, I included where we are on those. So per 21R4326 and 21000802, you will see the first number is the 20, I'm gonna have to grab my phone. And I wear glasses, so I'm sorry. With that, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund was, if you look at the documents, agreed to for $29 million, but then through those two, one, the ordinance and the resolution, there was a net present value, which changed the number to 20.9. That's why I included both to avoid any confusion. So of the 20.9 million for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, we have received those funds. 10 million came to Invest Atlanta for the anti-displacement fund. That is currently in an RFP process. We expect to have someone or an entity designated probably by the end of this month and beginning of next, and program officially launching at the beginning of next year for a pilot program area. We also received $4.5 million for a down payment assistance, and as you've heard me here say before, we had a great uptick in interest in our down payment assistance program. So affordable housing. The Centennial Group agreed to 200 residential units, or 20% of total residential units. To date, the one project they have online is Centennial Lofts, which is that old Norfolk Southern building, and they have achieved their affordable units, and we have 28 affordable units in that building. The next pot of funds is the Economic Development Fund. In this one, with the net present value, it was 10.7 million. Those funds have also been received. 4.1 million of those came to a local hire program. We worked with the city on this one, and we were able to deploy those funds. The second is 2 million income pilot that the city will be administering, and the 2 million child savings program. And the last is 2.75 of the Small Business Innovation Hub, which we will be coordinating. We're just looking to try to leverage the final ARP dollars that we were able to receive before we begin to implement this program. Of those, the project has not been complete, so some of these items will take time. Then in terms of the APD mini precinct, potential office space for economic development service, the Peach Drop, security enhancements. I will say the Nelson Street Bridge has been completed. The fire station is still pending, and there is a Carey Still Honor commemorative plaque on the bridge, so that one has been complete. In terms of the Workforce Development Implementation Plan, there was a commitment to provide a net present value of 1.7 million. Those monies have been received and went to the Atlanta Technical College that will be providing the only public CL license and so program, and they're working on their facility now. In terms of equal business opportunity, CIM reports 39.8% of minority participation so far on their projects. And Invest Atlanta is continuing going through our RFP process for the DDA agent, and we should have that in place probably before the end of the year. And with that, I will open it up to any questions from myself or anyone on the team, if anybody has any.
Thank you. Questions, colleagues? I will ask one very specific one to Jennifer. What is causing the Perry Bolton sunset date to be so far out into the future and specific?
Yeah, so I believe that's because it took much longer to actually issue the first bond. So the Perry Bolton TAD was created earlier, and it took about over 12 years to issue that bond because it got tied up in all the legislation. And so it's basically 25 years from when that bond was issued, which was 2015-ish. That's the reason why.
Okay, and I'm not advocating for this, but it would be possible to pay off the bond quicker, right? If we
I would
diverted
imagine
more of the
so,
dollars
based
to-
on, I mean, I would ask my CFO, but based on the increment that's collected and the uptick in Perry Bolton, I would think absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Mr. President Shipman.
Thank you. Just a few different kinds of questions. First, on the small business program. I want to start first with a thanks. Councilmember Bakhtiari and I worked hard to get that in the budget and then worked to get it implemented, and Invest Atlanta was a tremendous partner on making it happen, helping all the council members find their investments. I was very gratified to see the map and where the investments were made during COVID. We know that small business associations suffered, which means the small businesses they serve suffered. I would just say that I hope that in the future, since we have 2 years worth of reporting, you may come back and tell us some of the themes that you're hearing from small business associations about what we can do to make their lives easier. I think that was also one of the intents of the legislation, was one, to fund them, but then to help them help us help them more. Because in many ways, that small business association is the interface between those businesses and the city, whether it comes to funding or permitting or just assistance. So I'm very excited about this program, and that's my request, is that you come back and tell us what things we can do better when it comes to serving those associations.
We can add that. We have a survey that goes out to them, and we can add that question on to the survey.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you. Go ahead.
I just want to say I'm glad you were here because we added that just because we figured you would want an update.
I appreciate that. Two other questions. One, and they're sort of broader questions. We've read a lot, we've heard a lot about commercial real estate, the valuations around commercial real estate. This is a national trend. There's downward pressure on commercial real estate. I'm wondering if you could talk just a moment about the relationship between any decreases in commercial real estate values that we may see in the coming years and TADs. Do we expect that increment will be impacted going forward in our TADs if commercial real estate faces downward valuation pressure?
Let me just start by saying if I had a fortune ball, I may not be at Invest Atlanta, so it's hard to tell what the future will hold. I'll give my take, and then Jennifer, you can give yours. You know, we're really at a crossroads. I've been talking to folks in the industry, and they're saying that with a lot of individual or companies trying to still determine what their needs are for office, that's going to impact the commercial. I will have to say that in some of the tax allocation districts or these key commercial corridors, it's some places where property is affordable. And with the pressures that we're seeing on housing and just costs, I'm not seeing a decrease in the value of land, both residential and commercial. It's kind of this weird, we don't see as much demand per se, but I'm not seeing prices go down either. So the demand and supply numbers aren't pushing. So I know I'm being vague. I'm sorry, I don't have a specific answer, but I will tell you that we're watching it very specifically. And what I've had conversations with my colleagues across the nation is we do know that there is some B and C level space, and what are we specifically doing for those? And so that's where our target is until we kind of figure out what happens. And to throw it all in there, we have interest rates that are kind of going crazy as well. So all of this is playing into the mix, and I'm sorry for the vagueness of the question. I really don't.
No, I mean, I think, so I'll echo what what Dr. Klemenchik said. I think one thing, if we project out and we do see a reduction in increment collection versus what we've been kind of projecting, which again, we haven't really seen. But if that were to bear out, I think for me as kind of a manager of TADS, or how we could best adapt to that is really in our programming and kind of, rejiggering to a certain extent our programming, which we already do kind of based on program availability, but I think then it would really we'd have to hone in more on, smaller programs to really help activate smaller buildings. So I think, I don't want to see that happen because we have a tremendous pipeline of projects. So we need the resources we're projecting. But if they were to be reduced, we would, reconfigure our programming to direct it where it really needs to be used, just at reduced levels.
It makes sense. And I mean, I would just add to the point about where our TADs are. Given that, for instance, the Beltline TAD, which is the largest one, that's probably a sub-market. If you call it a sub-market, even though it's in multiple sub-markets, it's probably going to continue to grow even in the face of, challenging circumstances, right? So it may be specific to where our TADs actually are.
And it would be interesting, we're seeing some prices along the Beltline even being higher than I heard some prices in Buckhead. So.
One other larger question, you talked about Centennial Yards. We've seen them announce some pushing off of some of their commercial projects. South Downtown, obviously, we've seen that potential transaction to another developer, and that looks like it's slowing down. Could you just talk at all if there are time constraints that those delays have on anything to do with the city? Are there time constraints? You've laid out some of the community benefits, but obviously, the fire station, for instance, might come more slowly than we expected. Could you just talk a little bit about those two areas, and if there's anything specifically from the city, either funding-wise or commitment-wise, just to set everybody's expectations?
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look on all of them just to ensure if any of them have timing. None come to mind on timing specifically, but let me go back. I definitely want to make sure I get the right answer. I'll have to get back to
I'd
you.
appreciate that. I mean, I just think we see these things in the paper, and I have, residents and others contact me and say, well, what does that mean for the city, right? Does it mean anything? Is something time dependent? So it would be helpful, I think, to my colleagues and I if we had that information, just so we understood.
Happy to get that to you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Just a quick word on timing. When the Gulch legislation was passed in 2018, it set 2038 is obviously the deadline for both the sales tax collection and the property tax incentives on the Centennial Yards front. Councilmember Lewis, followed by Councilmember Amos.
And thank you for your report today. My questions are surrounding around the Metropolitan TAD. And I'm just wondering, what can we do to increase it? Because I'm looking at all of the growth around there, and I'm looking at the map that we have, this one, and it's surrounded by TADs, right? The Beltline TAD, which is the largest. Then you have Campbellton Road TAD. But there's this little green space, which is the most development going on in the city of Atlanta, Tyler Perry Studios. For some reason, it looks like it's left out of both Campbellton and Metropolitan TAD, but it should be a part of the Metropolitan TAD. Yeah, I'm looking at the map, and I had my staff send me a map to my phone so I can look at this one little space that would increase that TAD to a different world.
The Tyler Perry Studios is in the Campbellton TAD?
No, it looks like it's in between Campbellton and Metropolitan. The little space that's in between, that's where it sits, Fort McPherson and Tyler Perry.
I will look at the map, but I know it is in the Campbellton TAD.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we have had conversations with tax commissioner's office on, verifying and ensuring that property, since it is in the Campbellton TAD, is being assessed at the increased values, because we haven't seen the increment collection in the Campbellton TAD increase at a pace that we were anticipating because of all of that new development. So I know it's in the TAD, and we're trying to do some work to better understand why, that TAD hasn't been increasing as much. It has seen an uptick. The one TAD, it gets to the earlier question, where we've seen kind of a plateau, if you will, whereas every other TAD over the last couple years has experienced increment growth. Some a lot more than others. Perry Bolton in particular is performing very, very well, but Metropolitan TAD is the one that is relatively stagnant from increment collection. So we can't change the boundary of the TAD because we're limited by state redevelopment powers law that says we can only have 10% of the city's assessed value in TADs. And I think in the appendix, I think it's in there. We can't do that. I think it's in your appendix, but so we're limited to have 10% of the value of the land in TADs. Right now, we're at almost 20%. Which is great because that just means things are growing, but no new TADs can be created or boundaries can't be amended because of that. So what we really need to do is get a better understanding of what's happening within the Metropolitan TAD and how we can use a relatively underperforming tool like the TAD, but other tools we might have and other partners we can work with to really try to activate development within that TAD to drive property value and vitality.
And the 415 initial contribution was one of the lowest as well. So that could be part of the reason. I'm also thinking about Pittsburgh Yards, which should probably be what the increase, because I wanted, the Calverton TAD would be a part of my district, but so would the Metropolitan TAD. And I wanted to see the growth because the community is seeing the growth and we want to see it in there so that we can distribute it the right way.
So part of it is the boundary. So Pittsburgh Yards, that area is in the Beltline TAD, right? So you can see tremendous growth in the Beltline TAD. The Metropolitan TAD doesn't cover that area. That's actually the Beltline TAD.
And that would be one of the issues. I would say it took away all the money pieces for the Metropolitan Parkway because Pittsburgh Yards is Metropolitan Parkway.
They're proximate. They're definitely related. The challenge is, again, because of, state law guiding TADs, we know that there's a lot of activity being driven in a certain geography, but if that activity is happening within the Beltline TAD, that funding increment, that TAD increment has to stay within the Beltline TAD and can't be used to do anything in the Metropolitan TAD. So that's a challenge when they are, the boundaries are so close. So I think what I'm hearing and what I'd really like to do is maybe have some follow-up conversation with you or your team specific to the Metropolitan TAD and some things we could and can be doing and get some ideas moving forward because it is an underperforming TAD and it's got life on it. There is funding there to do smaller things. But how can we leverage? Yes.
So much potential on Metropolitan Parkway. It connects 3 different cities. And so I just want to see us pay more attention to it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Amos, followed by Councilmember Waits.
Thank you. I too would like to say thank you for the small business grant program and to my council president and colleague to getting it in the budget. But especially thank you for the technical assistance that you actually gave to the organizations. A lot of them was not used to getting that type of money. A lot of things had to go in place to make sure they was able to receive it. So I just want to say thank you for that and for your hard work also. To the TADs, Atlantic Station 2025, guesstimated closure. When do we start having the conversation about what to do with it? And that could be a question answered later, but I don't want 25 to get here and,
So we are definitely on track for that date still. I would imagine, so similarly to Princeton Lakes, that was just closed. Part of that dissolution process, if you will, is that, once all of the outstanding obligations are paid, the loan, the debt, projects are completed, whatever remains in that special fund gets divided up amongst the taxing jurisdictions commensurate with its percentage. So Princeton Lakes, that was the city and the county, because APS didn't participate. Atlantic Station obviously has all 3 taxing jurisdictions. I would imagine the process would be the same. What is available in that increment, after all obligations are satisfied, and that those funds, we wired funds to the taxing jurisdictions. So in terms of what the taxing jurisdictions do with those proceeds, that's up to you all, I would imagine, but we can certainly have conversations about the anticipated amount of funds that would give you, obviously, more information about potentially how it could be used.
Okay. And then the grandfather of them all, West Side TAD.
Yeah.
I know it's expanded to 38, but I am surprised to see it as number 2 or number 3 in asset growth and everything, but more surprised not surprised, to know the hard work that has went into working with our partners to still maintain some type of affordability on the west side. We have several partners over there, Housing Authority, West Side Future Fund, Quest, several others that are actually doing the work. But if I remember, Centennial Yards is actually part of the West Side TAD, correct?
Correct.
What type of growth are we anticipating when that happens? And then I think I also heard you say that because I know we did a lot of stuff leaving the school board with TADs, but the money, the increments that is earned in Centennial Yards have to be spent in Centennial Yards, correct? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to echo the sentiments of Councilmember Amos with respect to the Small Business Grant Program. The recipient that I nominated had a number of challenges, which you're intimately aware of, and so thank you for your patience. In addition to the Senior and the Legacy Home Improvement Program, those are things that were asked, and Invest Atlanta has delivered. But I want to go back to the conversation surrounding the Metropolitan Parkway TAD. When you look at all of the other locations, Hallowell and Metropolitan, those communities have the greatest needs. And these are communities that are often challenged with divestment, blight, lower property values and so forth. And I'm clear in terms of the guidelines and utilizing these funds, but what can we do to incentivize Campbellton Road, Hallowell, as well as Metropolitan to ensure some level of equity given the investments that are being made? Is there more that we can do to support and assist these communities that are still dealing with some of the challenges? Because I am also aware that when it comes to the Beltline community over in District 12 specific, Murphy Triangle's there, Pittsburgh Yards is there. And so we are still dealing with some of those challenges. I've seen the trees being planted and it's beautiful, but yet we have a long way to go. And so I'm hoping that we can use some additional tools and resources to bring some of those other communities that have not yet seen the benefits of the TAD.
Yeah, this is one thing that I am very proud of is that at Invest Atlanta, and I, again, have had the opportunity to work with a lot of my colleagues nationally, is that we have several arms. So the work that Jennifer does and the tax allocation districts are amazing, but to your point, they're not going to solve everything. So what we've done is we've leveraged our economic development department, and what we've done is we actually have individuals that have walked up and down the corridors, because what we've noticed is oftentimes some of the businesses don't even know the tools are available to be able to access them. So we've not only walked the corridor, talk about tools, we've leveraged and offered technical assistance, and we also have some of the areas you mentioned are in opportunity zones. These are state opportunity zones. We have an individual in our office that's actually calling businesses and saying, hey, do you recognize that you're leaving this amount of money on the table? So it really is the leverage. We are trying to not only augment the TAD, support the TAD, bring in our technical assistance, bring in our actual knock on the door, and then be proactive. So it really is a comprehensive look at what we can do for these key commercial corridors. Not only are they a priority for yourself and council member, but also the mayor. These some are part of his 7 neighborhoods. So we've been very intentional on how we approach this part of town to try to bring and ensure that everybody knows about the opportunities.
Councilmember Lewis.
And I want to say thank you for the Atlanta Heritage Program. The rollout was amazing. The events, the town hall type events were next level, and the 1 week, because you prepared folks for it. So I want to say thank you for that. And as we continue, if there are any kind of ways you can, anytime it's something for the people, if you do this rollout, you can like teach a class on how to get the information out, because we had so many folks that came that we couldn't let them in. I was going to ask, is there a way for us to extend that program or to do it at least once more for a 2-week period? Because some folks, because it was a 1 week period of it opening and closing, we had some seniors who were calling me to fill out the application for them.
Well, I want to specifically, I hope she's watching, Anita and her team and Key went out of their way. We, to your point, were taking applications over the phone if someone couldn't do it. We took applications by mail, by fax. Yes, that still exists for some of those who are watching. But the majority of us, over 750 applications came in online. We have over 1,000 applications that we're going to have to go through. So we expect that we're going to be able to do somewhere around, depending on how much their amounts are, but we think about 200, 300. So we have plenty of applications to get through. So right now, we would love to open up again, but we would have to have more funding identified. So at this point, we're going to go through the over 1,000 applications that we have, begin to prioritize them, and all of the providers will be reaching out to individuals. So I specifically want to thank the team and thank you, the council members, because you helped us get the word out. So really excited about our success now that we have so many applications.
Thank you, and they love the breakfast. They love the touch of breakfast.
We understand that food is an important component of our meetings.
All right, thank you again.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you all very much. Next up is our consent agenda. Mr. Evans, if you will sound our ordinance for first reading.
Item number 1, 23-0-1535, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute a storage area lease agreement with Newport 235 Mitchell Street LP, a Delaware limited partnership, for approximately 468 rentable square feet of storage space located at 235 Mitchell Street, Atlanta, Georgia 30303, for the Atlanta City Design Studio, commencing on the commencement date of the storage area lease agreement and ending on March 31st, 2027, at an annual rental rate of $4,680.00, waiving Article 10, Section 2-1546 of the Procurement Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, authorizing the expenditure to be charged to and paid from the account number listed here and for other purposes.
Thank you much. On to ordinances for second reading. Item number 2.
23-0-1513, an ordinance by Community Development and Human Services Committee to adopt the 2024 to 2028 capital improvements element, which includes capital improvements that the city intends to fund in whole or in part with development impact fees in compliance with the requirements of the Georgia Development Impact Fee Act and for other purposes.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Cope on the CIE? All right. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Second by Councilmember Lewis. If you will open that vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable. Next item.
Item number 3, 23-0-1518, an ordinance by Councilmember Amir Faroki declaring the 70 Boulevard Pedal Park located in land lot 46 of the 14th District, Fulton County, Georgia, tax parcel listed here abandoned for use as a park by the public and for other purposes.
Thank you. I'm going to make a motion to hold. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Winston. Please open that vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. That item is held. Item number 4.
There's a substitute in your packet. Would you like to move that forward?
Will do. I'll make a motion to bring forward the substitute. Second by Winston.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. If you will read that in.
This is 23-0-1531, an ordinance by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits, as substituted by the Community Development Human Services Committee, an ordinance to amend Part 3, Land Development Code, Part 6, Budget and Planning, Chapter 4, Boards and Commissions, Article A, Atlanta Planning Advisory Board, Section 6-4001, to provide for the payment of stipends to the voting members of the Atlanta Planning Advisory Board and for other purposes.
Councilmember Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the request of the administration, they've asked us to hold the paper.
Okay. Motion by Councilmember Waits, second by Councilmember Lewis.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. That item is held. On to resolutions. Item 5.
23R4159, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $150,000.00 to the Georgia State University Research Foundation pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to support expanding a resident resource platform to eligible City of Atlanta residents, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the donation, to authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to make the donation authorized hereby from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Thank you. Councilmember Winston.
Go Panthers, move approval.
I'll make a motion to approve by Councilmember Winston, which Councilmember Waits has seconded. Please open that vote. That's okay.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable and will travel to Finance Exec tomorrow. Number 6.
23R4161, a resolution by council members Michael Julian Bond and Byron D. Amos to request a portion of reprogrammed community development block grant funds in an amount not to exceed $18,000.00 be authorized to support the initiatives of the Vine City Civic Association and for other purposes.
Councilmember Amos. Motion to hold, which I will second. Please open that vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. That item is held. Item number 7 has a substitute which changes the caption, and so I will make a motion to bring that forward. Second by Councilmember Lewis.
Vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. You will sound that caption.
23R4167, a resolution by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland as substituted by the Community Development and Human Services Committee to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to allocate and pay a total of $11,591,666.00 from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for the following allocated purposes: $6,441,666.00 being allocated for affordable housing production, $2,400,000.00 being allocated for housing-related programs, $2 million and 0 cents being allocated for eviction diversion, and $750,000.00 being allocated for contingency reserves and related transfers to Invest Atlanta and for other purposes.
Thank you. I know that Chanel Zeisel is here from the administration. If folks have questions, I just wanted to make a quick comment that really thanks to Councilmember Waits for her resolution that was discussed at the last meeting, and while it was held, the feedback from the Housing Commission on both the importance of production as well as evictions and the growing number of evictions that are happening in the city has led to the revision of the allocation of these dollars to significantly more money around production and to a specific line item around evictions. So if there are any questions, we've got someone from the administration who can speak to that, but I will make a motion to approve as amended on substitute with a second from Councilmember Bakhtiari. Any questions or comments? All right, please open that vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable on substitute and will also travel to FEC tomorrow. Next item.
Item number 8, 23R4170, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari authorizing the contribution of a total amount not to exceed $40,000.00 to the Historic Oakland Foundation to support the Oakland Cemetery Capital Improvement Project and authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to make payment from the account number listed herein and for other purposes.
We have a motion to approve from Bakhtiari, which I will second. If there are no questions or comments, please open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable. Item 9.
23R4183, a resolution by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits encouraging the Georgia General Assembly to amend the official code of Georgia to allow counties and municipalities the ability to regulate rent to be charged for privately owned single-family or multiple unit residential properties for the purpose of promoting equity and affordability to those residing within the state of Georgia and for other purposes.
Councilmember Waits. A motion to approve from Councilmember Waits. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lewis. Please open that vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable and will travel to Finance Exec tomorrow. Item number 10.
23R4190, a resolution by Community Development and Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to accept a donation from Snipes USA to the City of Atlanta's Department of Parks and Recreation of improvements valued at approximately $20,000.00, which will include refurbishing backboards, repainting courts and court lines, and other repairs at Melvin Drive Park, located at 3895 Melvin Drive, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia, 30331, and for other purposes.
Motion by Lewis, second by Bakhtiari. Please open that vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable. Colleagues, we have 2 items from held that are ready to go. The first one is item number 31.
This is 23O1422, CDP 2315, an amended ordinance to amend the land use element of the 2021 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 1915 James Jackson Parkway Northwest and 2646 Peyton Road Northwest from the single-family residential land use designation to the high-density residential land use designation and for other purposes.
I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable. Item 35.
Item 35 is 23O1402, an ordinance by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits to amend Part 3, Code of Ordinances, Land Development Code, Appendix B, Electrical Code Amendments, Chapter 1, Administration, to create a new section of 101.10 to require the installation of infrastructure for exterior security cameras in certain buildings throughout the city and for other purposes. There's a substitute, but the caption is the same.
Okay, I'll make a motion to bring forward the substitute. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Winston. Please. Any discussion? Yeah. All right, please open that vote.
The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before us. Councilmember Waits.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. This legislation is actually in response to the number of break-ins that you've seen around our city surrounding apartment complexes and multifamily units. This passed favorably out of the Public Safety Committee. I can tell you that we worked closely with the Atlanta Apartment Association as well as the Commercial Board of Realtors, and this is the diluted and watered down version that we were able to support. But nonetheless, we're making progress, and I'm extremely proud to move this legislation forward, and I ask for your favorable approval.
It sounds like a motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Winston. Please open that vote. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please
The vote is open.
open that vote.
And the vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The watered down item is favorable on substitute. That brings us to general remarks. Anybody got anything for the good of the order? All right. Hearing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.